Ms. Mora, you opened your case to prove that the defendant, Mr. Platt, is your 3-year-old daughter, Anaya's biological father, in hopes that he will acknowledge her and finally sign her birth certificate. Is that correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
Mr. Platt, you say you refuse to be legally responsible for a child you seriously doubt is yours. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Mora, explain why having Mr. Platt on your daughter's birth certificate is so important to you.
Okay, Your Honor. It's important to me, you know what I'm saying? My daughter deserves to have her father on her birth certificate. You know what I'm saying? I've come from a broken family. My dad was never in my life. He's not on my birth certificate either. And my daughter deserves the best, you know what I'm saying? And this is why I'm here today, because I'm gonna make sure that his name is gonna be on that birth certificate.
Because you have no doubt he is the biological father.
There's no doubt in my mind, Your Honor.
But you do have doubt, Mr. Platt.
Yes, Your Honor.
Explain.
Before we even met, like, she was living with somebody else at the time.
So when you met her and you all started talking, she was living with somebody else?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, well, come on.
Yes,
let's state the facts. So how did your relationship begin?
We met on a little website. You know what I'm saying? I was with my ex. I explained to Mr. Platt that I was with him. I lived with him. He was like, okay, cool. Like, we're gonna talk, whatever. He agreed to it. You know what I'm saying? And we ended up meeting up. We went for a walk in the park. You know what I'm saying? And from there, we ended up going like maybe every weekend or every other weekend, and it led from there.
And then you all started a relationship?
Yeah. After
you broke up with the other guy?
After about a month, yes. And
I was so at that point, you moved out of the house with the other guy?
No, I was still living with him. Yes, I was still living with him.
And were you intimate with the other guy and Mr. Platt at the same time?
Not at all. Not at all.
Because we get a lot of people that come into this courtroom and say they were broken up so they couldn't get pregnant because they were broken up.
That's why I have the doubt, you know what I mean?
And
because she would always go back and forth, and then...
You kept going back and forth between the two men, right. Mr. Platt and then the ex.
Right.
Back and forth.
Correct, Your Honor.
Some point you realize you're pregnant. Are you living in the house with the other man when you realize you're pregnant?
Still, maybe for about like 2 weeks. And then once 2 weeks was up, I ended up moving in with my mom.
So you find out you're pregnant. When you find out you're pregnant, who do you tell?
I told him first, obviously, because I was living with him. And I took
See, that's what I mean.
the test.
But were you having sex with him?
No, not at all.
She was still in love with that dude, obviously, but she just kind of like go back and forth.
So when she told you she was pregnant, what was your response?
Well, I was shocked and, you know, stunned at the same time.
How did she tell you?
Well, she just called me and was just like, well, I wanted to know that I'm pregnant after like early November.
It was late November, Your Honor. I mean, he was cool with it. For maybe like at least like the first 3 months, he was cool with it. And he would come to my mom's house, and this is why I say, right after I found out, I ended up moving with my mom because he was there.
Mr. Platt was there?
Yes.
So, Mr. Platt, you were present during the pregnancy and the birth?
No, not the birth. No.
I was there for like the beginning of 3 months.
So now, why weren't you at the birth, Mr. Platt?
It's because that he was there. He was at the...
Who was?
He was present at the hospital.
He was.
You know what I mean? I wasn't trying
Your ex came to the hospital when you had the baby?
Platt, I talked to Mr. Platt the day before I had my daughter. He was thinking that it wasn't his baby. The other guy didn't show up until 7 o'clock that night. He stayed the 3 days in the hospital with me. But he also knew that he was not the father. And he said right then and there, I don't care if I'm not her father, I'm still gonna be here for her. And still to this day, he is.
She's 3 years old?
Still to this day is. See, I don't understand that she's saying still to this day he is, but she said that, oh, he's not supposed to have no ties to her.
Because, Your Honor, I don't
you've been lying to me then.
No, he wasn't willing to step up and take that place. You know what I'm saying? So another man did.
I stepped up for the past year and a half, and she's still letting the dude see him. Like, dude see her. That doesn't make any sense.
No.
And I've been doing rent and everything.
You say for the past year and a half? Well, she's 3. What happened to the first?
Because the first year and a half, I told you, like, I fell back. I fell back on that because, like, I'm not gonna deal with the drama.
What was the drama?
With me and the dude that she was with before. So it was like...
Why do you have friction with the other guy? Why are you all even in the same place at the same time?
Because, I don't know, like, she would invite me over at the time, and then I would still go over there.
Wait a minute now. This is sounding ridiculous. Why are we acting like this guy is like he's like a ghost just lurking around all the time? I mean, no, really. I mean, he's coming around for a reason. You all are entertaining him.
Yeah, that's why, that's why I'm sick and tired. Like, I didn't know that she was still doing that to this day. And she want to say dad to him and say stuff like that and then say it to me. Like, that hurts my feelings,
What does she call daddy?
She calls Mr. Platt dad because the other guy was gonna have him and his family were throwing her a party, and I didn't know anything about this. I found out about this.
The other man and his family threw your daughter a birthday party.
They threw her a birthday party
without you,
without me even knowing anything.
Supposedly, and she was with her the whole day.
No, I wasn't. Your Honor, I was at work.
This doesn't even sound right.
She was with him the whole day.
I was at work, so how was I supposed to know?
And it's confusing, and I don't, you know what I mean? That's where it
This doesn't sound right.
And then it happened again.
It don't sound right because I'm telling him I was at work, so how was I supposed to know?
No.
If you want more episodes of Paternity Court, make sure to subscribe and click on the notification bell. Who does she think this other guy is? What does she call him?
Sometimes she calls me the dad, and then sometimes
she calls him by his name, Your Honor.
Like she goes wishy-washy. She said that the other day.
The other day she did.
On Monday, she said that.
The other day she did, Your Honor.
The other day she called the other guy dad.
Yeah,
like,
and that's why I was freaking out.
At this point, she's probably confused.
No, yeah.
I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah, I know she's confused.
Right.
Yeah. And
how much time do you spend with her, Mr. Platt?
Well, I work Monday through Friday.
Don't stutter now.
No, I'm not stuttering.
You've been talking. How much time do you spend with her?
Well, they've been staying with me basically off and on for a year and a half, and I spend all the time. I got her, like she wasn't working.
They've been living with you off and on for the year and a half.
Well, basically almost a year and a half, but I have, I've been stepping up, and I was getting her gifts and diapers and all that. I'm doing everything and my rent and everything else on top of that.
But at the same time, you would do your part. You would take care of her. Yes, I give it to you. You stepped up. But at the same time, every time you would get mad, you would deny her.
Because she would get mad at me because I couldn't discipline her. And like she still does it to this day, like, oh, well, don't be doing this, don't be doing that.
Because I feel like, you know what I'm saying?
That's my baby, and it's saying, it's my.
Until he lets me prove to him that he's the father, I feel like he shouldn't discipline her. Why are you going to?
So you're saying if you deny her, you don't get to discipline her?
Yeah.
What is the problem with him being involved in her life as her father if you believe he is? What is that?
That's a good question, Your Honor. That's a good question.
This is unacceptable.
And I have pictures, sometimes in the beginning she would look like.
What are those pictures?
Oh, yeah, all of them.
Let me see all the pictures. What is this?
That's when she was, in the beginning, like I was doing a comparison, like she has my nose.
Step up to the monitor and describe what you are looking at.
She has my cheeks, but as far as in the eyes, like she has her eyes. And then the next picture, she's starting to change a little bit. Like she has my ears still, but her eyes looks like the other guy's eyes right here. They look slanted. And his eyes are like that. His eyes are like that. And then right there, it's like her eyes are changing again. So now it looks like my eyes again. And then her chin has her chin now. I'm like.
You just confused.
Yeah, I am confused.
Honestly, as my granny say, bless your heart.
Yeah, no, I feel ashamed.
Bless your heart. You just blowing up pictures, just trying to make something. Miss Mora, what is going on here? I mean, let's be honest. The man is doubtful because you've got this relationship that's just ongoing with this ex. And and look, I'm gonna tell you something. That's that boomerang effect because you met her while she was in a relationship with somebody else.
Yes, I told her. I said a lot of it, well, it is, my fault. She had hit me on the social media site, and then I just replied, and then I started going along with it, just thinking it wasn't gonna be like that because I wasn't even doing no settling down at that time, or wasn't trying to. And then.
Right, you with somebody else's girlfriend. Now you think somebody with her.
It wasn't even boyfriend or girlfriend, really. They was just living together. But basically,
But Your Honor, since day one, since I found out that I was pregnant, and even after I had her, not once have I ever told him, you're not the father. I've always told him, you're the father, and I'm telling you, and I know for a fact that you are. And
only when a few times she get mad, she wouldn't say it.
Why is this guy still around? Why is this guy picking up this baby, throwing birthday parties for this child with their family? Whose family is invested in somebody else's child like this that has moved on with another man and had a baby?
That's what I've been
doesn't make any sense. And I am all for loving children. I'm big on a village, but this village is a little weird. He's confused. I can see it in his eyes. I mean, even this little smile he does as he's kind of laughing.
Your Honor, I know the other dude is not the father because we've had so many miscarriages. And our last miscarriage was right before Anaya. And I lost that baby when I was 5 months. I was already in the second trimester.
So you were sleeping with this other guy?
No. Well, before that.
So let me understand. In your court papers, what you stated and what you're stating now is when you were with the other guy and you were attempting to get pregnant, you could never, you would have a miscarriage.
Right, Your Honor.
And there were multiple miscarriages.
Yes.
So how many did you have?
7.
7.
7.
Oh my goodness. So this particular evidence is definitely interesting and intriguing. I want to learn more about it. So I've called upon an expert. I'd like to hear from Dr. Tosha Rogers. Jerome, can you please escort her into the courtroom? She's a medical expert and OBGYN from Atlanta Premier. I'd like to ask her a couple questions.
To the witness stand.
Okay.
Right next to the judge. Watch your step.
Okay. Hello, doctor.
How are you?
Very well. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are here discussing a paternity issue relating to beautiful Anaya, 3 years old. And as part of the testimony, our plaintiff, Ms. Mora, talked about in a previous relationship having suffered 7 miscarriages with her particular partner. Can a man's sperm, or is a man's sperm, or how does it play a role in miscarriage?
Okay. Yes, it can.
It
100%. Especially if we have early miscarriages. Early miscarriages are usually due to chromosomal abnormalities. If it's what we call like a fatal mix, then a miscarriage will ensue. So yes, it can. But if it's been 7 miscarriages, likely there would be a problem where Dad would have to get what we call karyotyping to take a look at his genetic breakdown to see what is happening with him.
So is it anything to do with the timing of the miscarriage? When did you miscarry?
For the first 6, I miscarried at 3 months. And this is why on the last one, on the 7th one, I thought, okay, I lasted up until 5 months. I'm gonna be able to carry this one. And after like a couple of months, or maybe like a couple of weeks after turning 5 months, I miscarried. I had to go to the emergency room. I was in so much pain. They had to do a DNC, and they told me that my daughter passed away.
I'm sorry to hear that. I'm so sorry. So, doctor, what I'm trying to get is a clear understanding of the difference of miscarrying in the first trimester, very early on, and the fact that she carried this baby almost to 5 months. How does that exclude this other gentleman as a possibility, or does it?
It cannot. It cannot exclude him as a possibility. We cannot say it was impossible unless we would know that there was a type of genetic disorder, unless Dad had been evaluated, or what we do karyotype evaluation. So there's no 100% certainty to say that he can't be the father of the baby.
Okay. So after hearing this testimony, Mr. Platt, what do you think?
Like, I don't know the proof of how many miscarriages, you know? Like, I'm not saying I don't believe it, but I'm saying it still always can be a possibility, if, you know, if anything.
And this is why we're here today. And I'm gonna show him that I was telling him the truth the whole time.
All right, well, let's go to the results. Jerome?
There you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
These results were prepared by DNA Diagnostics, and they read as follows. In the case of Mora versus Platt, when it comes to 3-year-old Anaya Mora, it has been determined by this court, Mr. Platt, you are the father.
I'm sorry.
You can stand together if you like.
I told you.
Sorry, man.
We've gone through so many arguments because he didn't think that she was his. And I would tell him every time, she's yours. And he just denied it.
3 years.
3 years.
3 years. This beautiful little girl has not gotten the benefit of having the full love, attention, protection, dedication, support, presence of her father.
Now that name can go on that birth certificate. It's right here.
Ms. McGowan, you say after the death of your husband, you were trying to find your way, but ended up finding a man on the internet, had sex with him, and 2 weeks later, you discovered that you're pregnant.
Yes, ma'am.
Now you claim the defendant, Mr. Martin, is without a doubt the biological father of your 8-month-old baby, Caden. Is
Yes,
that
ma'am.
correct? Mr. Martin, you say there's no way you're Caden's biological father, and you claim to have a mile-long list of doubts that will clear your name today in court.
Yes, Your Honor.
One main reason is that you believe the man she's currently living with, who will join us shortly, is baby Caden's biological father.
Yes, Your Honor.
So, Ms. McGowan, so you say he's done nothing for the child?
Nothing at all.
Absolutely nothing.
Nothing at all. When I met him online, he misrepresented himself. He told me he was a good man, he was a good father, he was into church and everything.
Baby Caden is 8 months old.
Yes, ma'am.
Any diapers?
He tricked me over there one time and said he has diapers for the baby, but he didn't have any. No, he didn't have any.
Mr. Martin,
Yes, yes.
you've done nothing for the child?
No, I did nothing.
Why?
Because in fact, first night we had sex. The first day we met each other, we had sex. And the reason why I don't believe is this is my child, because she's very promiscuous. And when you have sex with a woman, the first day, that's red flag anyway.
Did you use protection?
No,
No, So if you have sex with a woman on the first day and you don't use protection, you understand that if it's in the window of conception, you might be her child's father, right? No matter how,
Yeah.
no matter how promiscuous she may be.
Well, first of all, far as my sperm count, it stays low because I have sickle cell, and it's hard for me to make a baby anyway. And when as far as the sex thing, when the passion goes, it goes. We got time to be doing all that. When you in the heat of the moment.
Are you suggesting you don't have time to use protection?
I'm
Yo.
clean. I'm clean.
Yo.
I'm clean. I trust that she was clean.
It ain't that much trust in the world.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. So
Well,
you can do all that,
Well, Your Honor.
and not do anything for a child you possibly created?
Only reason why, because after the fact we had sex, I went through her phone. When I went through her phone,
Yes, the first night went through my phone.
I went through her phone, and I woke up out of sleep. I said, so a man just came over here the other day and gave you sex and saying in the text.
But you had just met her.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
But
you.
I just met her.
And
The
going
first
through my
night,
phone.
wait, the first night you're with her, you have sex, then you looking through her phone. You don't use protection,
Okay.
because you ain't got time for all that.
Crazy.
That's ludicrous. Explain to me, if this in fact is the sexual encounter you've had, as irresponsible as it is, it's done now. After it happens, and then there's a baby on the way, I need to understand how you can doubt.
Because there was other men's involved.
Okay, but wouldn't you then be one of the potential men?
Okay, out of one of the potential men,
All right.
there's others.
Okay.
So therefore, I cannot be that one. I cannot. You know what I'm saying?
What math are you doing?
What math I'm doing?
In your mind, because if you are one of the potential fathers, how do you exclude yourself from the number of men that could potentially be her child's father?
Because the next day she had sex with another guy.
Oh, my God.
Ms. McGowan, I'm going to go to you. I want to
Thank
give
you.
Mr. Martin time
Thank
to
you.
process.
Yeah, because he's in La La Land.
He's saying there are other men, and you were here, and you're convinced he's the father.
Yes,
Did
ma'am.
you have sex with somebody else the next night after
No, I did not the next night. He got all kind of men in his head. I went with the mailman, the milkman, just in his head. Because one minute he nice and the next minute he not. But he is the father, no doubt.
Why are you so convinced? Can you just explain that to me?
Yes, because of the conception date. And my son looked exactly like him. Exactly like him. Even Ray Charles can see that.
Do you have any proof
Yes,
of the
I have the
dates you were
calendar of
intimate?
the dates.
You do?
Yes,
I'd like to
ma'am.
see that. Jerome, would you hand me her evidence, please? All right. So you presented a calendar that outlines the date you were intimate with Mr. Martin,
Yes, ma'am.
and that's April 2nd.
Yes, ma'am.
So you're intimate with Mr. Martin on the 2nd. The doctor tells you your conception date is estimated at April 3rd. Were you in a relationship with anybody else at that
No,
time?
ma'am, I was not.
Did you have sex with any other men during the window of conception?
I did a couple of days later, I did.
A couple days later. Okay,
Matter of fact, 3 days.
listen, this is court. I need you to be honest with me. That's why we're here. It's
Okay.
to get the answers.
Okay.
So a couple days later, you had sex with someone else.
Yes, ma'am.
Would that be a couple days as in April 5th?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. How about April 6th?
Yes. Same person, though. It was the same person.
Would that be Mr. Brody that's in our court?
Yes, ma'am.
So why are you so convinced it's Mr. Martin's child when you had sex with Mr. Brody so close in proximity to when you had sex with Mr. Martin? Did you use protection with Mr. Brody?
No, ma'am.
How do you stand here and just point the finger at Mr. Martin
Because
when you know that you were also intimate with another man without using protection a couple days later?
yes, ma'am.
Do you have a relationship with the other man, Mr. Brody?
Yes, ma'am, I do. I do.
What's your relationship?
We live together.
You do? So you live with Mr. Brody,
Yes.
but you truly believe your child is Mr. Martin.
Yes.
Wake up, really.
But if your child is Mr. Martin's, that would negatively affect your relationship with Mr. Brody.
Yes.
Yet you're here to prove
Yes, ma'am.
that your child is Mr. Martin's child.
Yes. He don't want Caden to be his son because he don't want to take no responsibility for nothing. He got other kids he don't take care of.
well, I
So
do.
but his
no.
sperm count low.
But,
remember he said his sperm count low?
I mean, all my other kids got sickle
Where
cell.
you get that from?
Do he got sickle cell?
Your son does not have sickle cell.
Who was at the hospital,
Okay, you
Ms.
call for
McGowan?
Mr. Brody.
Because you weren't gonna have me come up
I
there.
called him.
He didn't want to. He didn't want to do that.
You say you called him?
Yes.
Did you get that phone call, Mr. Martin?
I texted him, matter of fact.
She
He
text-
texted me 3 days later. My baby was in the NICU 12 days.
Okay, well.
At the hospital.
Never
It's-
visited the baby?
No. I texted
about
him
money.
before I went to hospital. He didn't come.
It's about money.
And Mr. Brody been there for me since day
He been
one.
dropping off
So
money.
you said,
Money talk.
since he didn't show, I will take the gentleman I'm with and let him support me through
No,
this.
he just been supporting me from day one since my pregnancy. He been supporting me. And I had a hard pregnancy, Your Honor. My baby was born 5 weeks early. His lungs was not mature. He stayed in NICU for 12 days. He was around the corner. He could have walked to the hospital. That's how close he is to the hospital. He did not come.
I think it's time we meet Mr. Brody. Jerome, will you please escort him into the courtroom?
Careful going up the step.
Mr. Brody, thank you for joining us today.
You're welcome.
You know, we're here discussing the paternity as it relates to baby Caden.
Yes, ma'am.
There's been testimony by Ms. McGowan that you were in a sexual relationship with her during the window of conception.
Yes,
So you could potentially be Caden's biological father.
Yes, ma'am.
Question to you.
Uh-huh.
Do you believe you are Caden's biological father? Do you believe you are Caden's biological father?
Yes, ma'am.
You do?
I do.
You want to be
Yes, ma'am.
this child's father?
Yes, ma'am.
Explain.
Because I've been there, man, Tina and I, Miss McGowan and I have been messing around since February. I just pray that he's mine. I really do. Because when he was born, he looked like me. He was a little light-skinned red baby. He had my cow licks and everything. And I was the first one to see that child in the NIC unit when they took him from his mother when he stopped breathing. I sent her the pictures of him. I was there. When Miss McGowan was going through it, she was borderline just diabetes while she was pregnant with him. I took care of Miss McGowan. I washed her clothes. I fed her. Her feet would swell up. I took care of her. I made sure she was at her appointments. I took care of Miss McGowan.
So did you sign the birth certificate?
No, ma'am, because one thing I say is this. Before I signed that birth certificate, his real father, if I'm not his father, his real father should have the opportunity to put his name on there and have his son in his name. That's what I'm here for.
You have the birth certificate?
Yes, ma'am,
Let
I
me
sure
see
do.
that. Jerome, will you hand me that, please? So this is baby Caden's birth certificate.
Yes, ma'am.
And there is
No father.
no father listed. And you did that purposefully.
Yes, ma'am.
Explain.
I did that because I wasn't sure who the father was, but I thought I should wait until I find out the truth before I put any father on there. But I think if Marcel is the father, he needs to step up and take her responsibility. And if he want anything to do with my son, I think he should put his name on the birth certificate.
Well, I did try to step up to the opportunity.
No, he didn't.
After the 6-week checkup, after his 6-week checkup, she called me. She said, I'm finna go to 6-week checkup. I had to come by. She came and spent the night. We had sex.
Oh, my God.
We had sex after that 6 weeks.
6 weeks, she was at my house.
Well, after she came from that appointment, she spent the night at my house.
Her and Caden was at my house. No, they were not.
Oh, trust
At
me.
her 6 weeks.
I guess, and another thing.
I took her for her 6-week checkup.
You know when she got her hair done?
and Caden.
You know when she got her hair done and came back home?
Because I done it. Roller said I done that.
Oh, you done
her
that?
braids, yeah.
Wait,
You doing roller skates?
I took care of this woman. What he talking about? He don't know nothing.
look, okay.
He just sitting here running off his mouth.
Sure
You
did.
had fun
Well, look, check
laying
this out.
down with Miss McGowan, but you can't have fun taking care of
Well, check
McCain
this
and
out.
Joel. That's the problem.
That's right.
If I can do it,
And
you
he
can.
does nothing.
Because if he's my son,
Okay.
you better believe we won't have to hear from you no more. And if he is yours, we still don't have to hear from you because we ain't hearing from you now.
You gonna hear from
But
me.
you running your
gonna hear
mouth.
from me, bro.
That's what the
You gonna
problem
hear
is
from me, bro.
right now.
You gonna hear from me, bro.
Well,
hear
you
me?
better step up or step out. Which one you gonna
I'm ready.
do?
I'm
If
ready
he's
to step
yours,
up.
you better
I'm ready
step
to
up.
step up. That's what I did.
You
Oh,
can't-
my God.
Let's get some order.
Chill down a little.
Okay.
Chill out a little bit.
Your Honor, you see his whole conversation about being with me?
He
That's
ain't
his
saying nothing about
focus
being with
soul on me. He cares nothing about, he don't even know my baby middle name.
You see me? Right there. That's me. That's me and Stinker right there. That's Stinker Man.
He knows,
Oh, he's so cute.
he knows no one else but him.
That's
don't
all
know
he
who
knows.
this
He
is.
knows me.
I don't know who this is, and he don't know either.
Your Honor, this past Father's Day, Memphis, Tennessee saw it in them to award me with Community Father of the Year Award in
that's
Memphis,
wonderful.
Tennessee. The mayor was there, city council was there, and state representatives was there. So Caden will not fall short on a daddy or a father when it comes down to that.
That is great to hear.
I'm a single father. I have a 7-year-old daughter I've been taking care of since 2009. And when I was told she was pregnant, 41 years old, me, it just blew my mind. And then when I seen him in that NIC unit with those tubes running out of him, that was my baby. He's mine. And I don't understand how a man can walk around here and wonder about the mother instead of what's laying in that basket with them tubes running out of him. He's so worried about Miss McGowan, what she got going on with me. It's not about Miss McGowan and I. It ain't even about him. It's about that little baby right there. It's not about money, following
worrying
no
about
money.
what-
You
I
don't know
have
about
no
me.
money.
Just because you.
But I got all the love, and I can make sure he got
I'm
a roof
good,
over his
too.
head and food to eat. Make sure he get his education. That's what I can do.
And well, ultimately, it really is about baby Caden.
It is.
Most definitely.
And that's why we're all here.
Yes.
And I have the answers you all are seeking. Jerome, may I have the envelope, please?
Please do. And just know, if it is my baby, I'm stepping up to the fullest.
Well, do that. I'd be proud of you.
And I hope you don't
that.
mind.
I would not
Can you
take
bring
you
him to
for
the
that.
house? Can you bring him to the house to me?
Never.
You give me some gas money, yeah.
I got you. I got you. I got you. I
You
got
on the same thing I'm on.
Do you
got
all
you.
want to argue or do you want to get the results?
I want
got
the
you.
results.
Get the results,
Okay.
ma'am.
We get the results.
These results were prepared by DNA Diagnostics, and they read as follows. In the case of McGowan versus Martin, when it comes to 8-month-old Caden McGowan, pertaining to whether his biological father is Mr. Martin or Mr. Brody, it has been determined by this court. His biological father is Mr. Martin.
That's what's up. That's what's up. That's what's up. Well, now I can get my rights. I can spend time with my baby and teach my baby how to be a carpenter.
Mr. Martin,
I just want y'all to bring them.
I just want to tell you this. You've missed 8 months.
Just bring them over, and I got the gas money. We don't need no more talk. Conversation over. But I do thank you for stepping up, buying him all that stuff. And I told her when she came over to the house after that 6 weeks, and I told her, I said, this man done did all this stuff. It got to be his child because ain't no man in his right mind just gonna pick up and just do that. But you did. But you did.
What
but
kind
you
of
did.
men? What kind of men do you know?
That's what I want to know.
We see this.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I'm glad they broke the mold.
Hold on. Mr. Martin, let me inform you.
father
No,
was
let
there.
me inform you
So I
of
don't know
something.
no man.
I've seen plenty of men step up for a child that could not possibly be their biological child
Yeah.
because they recognize that an innocent child needs that. Now, you all trying to outdo one another? No. Instead of competition, work in concert. How about that? Miss Cherry, you claim Mr. Johnson is your father, even though this is the first time you've ever seen him in person. You know he does not believe that he is your biological father, but you claim this is the only man you've ever been told is your dad. Mr. Johnson, you admit that you've never believed you are her father, but you say you understand why today's results are so important for both of you. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, so Miss Cherry, tell us why opening this case is so important.
Yes, Your Honor. I am just looking for closure. I was adopted, within family, so I know who my mother is and everything, but I was adopted within family. And certain family members have always made the statements that my parents just didn't love me and that's why they gave me up.
What? That is awful. I can't even imagine, Miss Cherry, what you've gone through having to hear just such mean-spirited remarks. And then to have to go through this pretty much alone. And so you've been strong enough to make it to this point. You've been told Mr. Johnson is your biological father your whole life.
Yes, Your Honor.
You've never been given another name.
No, Your Honor.
So, Mr. Johnson, Miss Cherry says you are the only man she's ever been told is her biological father.
Yes, Your Honor.
And yet you admittedly have not been there,
Yes, Your Honor.
and you don't know if you are her biological father, or are you completely doubtful?
I am, first of all, very sympathetic to Jennifer and her journey. And I do not believe that I am her father because of things that were told to me over the years. It was told to me that I was her father. And then there was a member of the family who came later on and told me that they found out that I was not the father and they apologized to me.
Okay, so take me back. I really want to understand this from the beginning because I understand this is very complex. You remember the relationship with her mother?
Yes, ma'am.
How did you meet? Tell me about that relationship.
At the time, in 1985, my girlfriend was also pregnant and she had left to go to Ohio. Jennifer's mother sent someone from the neighborhood with a note saying that she wanted to sleep with me and she was in love with me. At this time, I had a few beers, and I can't blame that on the alcohol. Needless to say, we ended up having that one encounter that one night.
So you did have sex with her mother?
Yes.
One night?
One night.
Ah, so Miss Cherry, what were you told?
The only thing that I know both are saying is that he took her virginity, but he advised me that he thought she was pregnant beforehand.
But your mother, if she couldn't be pregnant beforehand and then he take her virginity, so Mr. Johnson, do you believe Miss Cherry's mother was a virgin? Is that what you were told? Was that your understanding?
At the time we slept together, I did believe that she was a virgin because of the events that took place after the fact.
So at the time you thought she was a virgin?
Yes.
Did you use protection?
No, I did not.
So after that, when do you find out she's pregnant? Do you find out?
Yes, I found out through the neighborhood. People in the neighborhood just were coming up to me and telling me, congratulations on your daughter, and I was saying, I'm having a son.
Oh. So then did you get wind of the fact that they were talking about Miss Cherry's mother?
Yes, because the person in the neighborhood told me that it was Dee Dee, in fact, that was pregnant with my child.
Ah, and then what did you do?
I didn't believe it because of the timelines. This didn't seem to match up to me to think that.
So, Miss Cherry, you hear Mr. Johnson testifying that people were saying to him, congratulations on your baby girl. That would be you. But you hear him saying that he didn't think you were his. What were you told about this when your mom talked to you about being pregnant with you?
I've never gotten anything. It's always been just, Perez Johnson's your dad. That's it.
And so, Mr. Johnson, when do you find out about the birth? When did you find out Miss Cherry had been born?
Well, I went to the hospital to visit my son who had been born. And when I got to the hospital, someone had said, are you here to see your daughter?
So again, you're getting this same feedback, like you have a daughter. Mm-hmm. Did you say, where is this baby?
Well, when I looked in the room, Jennifer's grandmother was holding her, and Dee Dee was laying in the bed. And I just proceeded to go to my girlfriend's room. Again, at this time, I had already been told that I was not the father. But now again,
who told you weren't the father at that time?
Someone in Jennifer's family that was threatening me to step up as her father for months. And all of a sudden, he came back to me and said to me, we found out who the real father is. You are not the father, and I apologize to you.
Your
But
Honor,
was that credible, or did you just assume it and run with it because you were already having another baby? So you didn't really want the responsibility of having a second baby?
And I will answer that honestly.
Okay.
I will answer that honestly. Yes, and that is absolutely true. At a young age where I was and being committed, even though I was told this was not my child, but
All
yes.
right. And that's what we're here to do, tell the truth. That's what we want to know how we got here.
Yes.
And so, as you look back now you are a mature, grown man. Mm-hmm. Do you regret not pursuing the opportunity to truly find out if Miss Cherry is your biological daughter?
Yes, I actually do regret it, but I did try to reach out and find them. I did not have any names. I did go downtown in 2000 to try to get a blood test, but by that time, they said I would have to pay $700, in which I did not have at that time to take the blood test.
All right.
Honor,
yes.
my mother had advised me that 2 years prior to me being adopted, both parents signed their rights over.
Ah.
So I feel like if you wanted to know, you could have found out at that moment, because previously to that, the courts was trying to do a DNA test and you never showed up.
Do you remember signing over your parental rights, Mr. Johnson?
I have never signed a birth certificate. I have never signed any documents pertaining to Jennifer other than child support.
My mom has been honest about everything to me. So she stated that there was multiple attempts to do a DNA test before the child support even
So,
went into
Mr.
play.
Johnson, this does get kind of odd because you have these moments where you say that you have the opportunity to settle this, to get closure, to have resolution to this. And it seems like you keep evading this process. Whether you say you saw the baby in the hospital, but you didn't walk through the door. The family member says you need to step up, but you don't, and instead they come back and say you're not the father. There are DNA test opportunities. Were you just a young man with enough responsibility and you were basically saying, I can't deal with this, so I'm just not gonna show up and whatever happens, happens? I mean, what is the real truth?
The real truth is what you just said, probably, Your Honor. It probably really is the truth. I was young, dumb, and didn't step up for my responsibility.
At some point, you say, I want to search for my father.
Yes, Your Honor.
And you begin that search. Can you tell the court how that came about?
I did a DNA ancestry, and it linked me to cousins. I had told them I don't know my father or anything like that, so they asked me for the name. They came literally 10 minutes. It was like, we couldn't find anyone with that spelling, but we found someone with this spelling. It was him, the only Perez Johnson in Pittsburgh that was on Facebook. So I sent him a message on Facebook.
So you submitted that message to the court, and the message reads, from Miss Cherry, I believe you're my father. I don't want anything, just trying to figure out my history and family. Mr. Johnson, you respond, hello, how are you doing? You've grown into a very lovely young lady. Although I did not think I was your father, seeing your picture now brings me to believe you very well may be. Wow. When you got that response, what were you thinking?
I started crying.
Because in that moment, what did it feel like?
Like I finally found him.
And I can see how emotional that makes you as well, Mr. Johnson. What are you feeling in this moment? Why are you so emotional?
The reason why I did submit to pay child support all her life is because even though I did not believe that she was my child, I knew there was a child out there in need and that probably needs someone someday to say that they care.
Your Honor, I'm sorry, I don't believe he ever cared because I still was adopted. Both of my parents signed their rights over, both of them.
And you claim as well, Ms. Cherry, the kind of in and out thought process of, as we saw in the text exchange, I think you very well may be, to, no, I don't think you are. That is just confusing to you. You've submitted the message to the court. I'd like to read that. Mr. Johnson says, I'm so sorry you had to grow up without a father, and I'm willing to do DNA for you, but I believe 99% you are. Wow. I've always waited for you to contact me. Wow. Mr. Johnson, this doesn't sound doubtful. This says you believe 99% she is your daughter and that you've been waiting your whole life for her to contact you.
That was actually after I seen the pictures.
And you've been waiting for her to contact you since you saw the pictures or her whole life? What are you waiting for?
I've been waiting her whole life to contact me, and I thought I was going to be able to just have to tell her I'm not her father. But when I seen her picture, I said there's so much resemblance that there is a chance, a strong chance that you are.
Ms. Cherry, I want to ask you this. This courtroom is a place where we are able to tell our truth. And as I sit here through this hearing, I feel the confusion you must have felt. Can you look at Mr. Johnson, the man you've been told your whole life is your biological father, the man you believe is your biological father? Can you tell him what that confusion has been like, has felt like?
I wouldn't say I mean, I felt unloved my whole life.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
And, you know, my child questions who my parents are. She knows who her parents are. She knows who her grandparents are from her dad. So when she's questioning me and say, well, Mommy, where's your mom and dad at? What's your parents' names? Why don't we ever go see them when we go back home?
I'm very proud of you to where you have brought yourself without a father or a mother, whether I am or I'm not. You are a dynamic woman. You have brought yourself to a point to where you have to be proud of yourself, no matter what the outcome comes of this. I'm proud of you. I'm very proud of you. And I would be happy if the results came back saying that you were my child. With that said, you still had a place in my heart and always will.
I don't think we need to wait a moment longer. Jerome, I'm ready for the results. These results were prepared by DNA Diagnostics, and they read as follows. In the case of Cherry versus Johnson, when it comes to 33-year-old Jennifer Cherry, it has been determined by this court. Mr. Johnson, you are not the father. I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
I was hoping to get closure for you today, Miss Cherry.
It's okay.
You are so deserving and worthy. And even though I could not give you the answer you wanted, I've given you one of the answers you needed. Mr. Johnson, I see how emotional you are. Is there something you would like to say to Miss Cherry?
Yes, I mean, I may not be your biological father, and I didn't raise you, but I can give you life. I can give you a journey to move forward together with me. And maybe someday you will find your real father. Maybe you'll have two. But I'm still willing to be there for you.
Not alone, right?